Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today, as you can tell, I'm going to be ranking the albums of the Byrds, 1960s into the 70s band from the United States. And we're going to go from my least favorite to my favorite album. And so let's go ahead and get started with the Byrds. My least favorite album. Now, let me clarify something before we get started. I love the Byrds, and I really like pretty much every album by the Byrds. There's not an album that I can't find a few songs that I really, truly enjoy. So in saying that, because an album is ranked low or even at the bottom, doesn't mean that I don't listen to this album. It's just that the other albums are better, in my opinion. So, my least favorite album is the self-titled album, The Byrds. It's a mix of everything that the Byrds have to offer. Great production, excellent production. It's just that it doesn't seem to be as strong to me as some of the other albums. But again, it's a great album and I recommend it. I like Sweet Mary. I like Things Will Be Better. The Byrds have some solid songwriting and great vocal harmonies and great instrumentation. Solid. They're very accessible. Once you start listening to them, you love them. It's just a matter of fact. At least it is for me. So the Byrds, self-titled. The next album is going to be Farther Along. Now the Byrds later on got into some sort of country and gospel sound, but they do it so well. It's just, they're so good at what they do, what they, decide to put together. It's all quality. They're rocking it up a bit in this one. It's very solid. Again, it's maybe a little bit of genericness to it as opposed to, the next albums. But that's just my opinion. I do enjoy Tiffany Queen. It's a, heavy rocker for the Byrds. So Fine's good one as well. And again, it ranks just a little bit higher than the self-titled. The next one is called Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. They brought back a bit of psychedelic rock. They kind of got out of the psychedelic rock for a little while, but then they came back a little bit with this. So they do have that psychedelic element in it. The Wheels on Fire, heavy song for the Byrds. Child of the Universe, very, very psychedelic, very spacey. King Apathy 3, very weird song, but I enjoy it. So, Dr. Byrds and Mr. Hyde. The next one is going to be Byrd Maniacs. And this one's a better production than some of the earlier ones. It's more soulful. It's more experimental, more expanded sound that they have. The songs, again, are not as strong as the earlier albums, in my opinion, but they're good songs. A couple of them are piano-based songs. I Trust is a good one. Tunnel of Love is kind of a 50s sounding song. Citizen Kane is very strange. I mean, it takes you back to when the Byrds were doing real psychedelic music. Green Apple is bluegrass, as good as you can get it if you like that kind of music. It's just a mishmash of everything, and I really like it. It's a cornucopia. That's what they should have titled it. The next one is called Ballad of Easy Rider. Of course, the Byrds played music in the movie Easy Rider, and one of the songs is the Ballad of Easy Rider. That's the name of the album and the song on this album. It sounds a bit like the earlier albums. I do enjoy Ballad of Easy Rider. Fido, Jack Tar, the Sailor's a very bizarre song. I like it. Again, it's just a kind of a potluck of stuff. Jesus Is Just All Right. I love that song. I like it when the Byrds sing it or when the Doobie Brothers sing it. It's just a great song. So Ballad of Easy Rider. Next is Sweetheart of the Rodeo. Now the Byrds went from sort of a folk rock band to a sort of a psychedelic folk rock band, and then suddenly they released an album that was just pure straight country. It sounds almost like gospel country in some songs. Very reminiscent to me of the Grateful Dead in later years. Completely gone on this album are the psychedelic and rock elements. You Don't Miss Your Water, Lazy Days. Gosh, I love that one. I think the Flying Burrito Brothers did that one. But I just love the Byrds rendition of that song. Pretty Polly's a great song. They got a grooving song called You Got a Reputation on this one's great. So Sweetheart of the Rodeo, strong album, even though the sound had significantly changed. Moving on, next is going to be Turn, Turn, Turn. Now, this was the first song I ever heard by the Byrds. My mother used to sing this song. It's based on a chapter in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible. It was their sophomore effort. Just a solid album. It reminds me of the first album. As a matter of fact, they're almost tied for, third and fourth place to me. Again, the Byrds albums are so good, it's just hard to rank. It Won't Be Wrong is a great one. He Was a Friend, of course, is a classic. The World Turns All Around, I like that one. And, of course, The Times Are A-Changin'. I love that Bob Dylan song that the Byrds put together, they redid. So, next is Mr. Tambourine Man. This is a very, very popular song by the Byrds. It was their first album. Very tight harmonies, great folk rock, if you like that kind of music. Very interesting lyrics, very groovy songs in some parts. I Feel a Whole Lot Better is a great one. You Won't Have to Cry. I really enjoy that one. All I Really Want to Do is a fun song. Here Without You, It's No Use. I mean, I could just keep naming songs off this album. I like every song on it. But that's Mr. Tambourine Man. Okay, now we're getting into, I guess that was sort of the fourth albums of the Mount Rushmore, so now we're getting to the third one. Fifth Dimension. This is psychedelic folk rock, guys. I mean, you got 5D, you got Mr. Spaceman, you got 8 Miles High, which is one of their most popular songs. I love that song. I love the beginning of it. I See You. Later, Yes did that song, but the Byrds were the originals. There's more lead guitar parts in this one. It's more rock, more spacey. They started getting a little groovy with like Captain Soul, things of that nature. Just an excellent album, Fifth Dimension. Okay, next is going to be the Notorious Byrd Brothers. This was a more expanded psychedelic rock sound. It still had the folky elements in it, but it was more soul, more experimental. You had Artificial Energy, you had Going Back, Draft Morning, which is my favorite off this album, Tribal Gathering, which is also one of my favorites off this album, Dolphin Smile, Space Odyssey, very weird sounding, but it's a very, very strong album and highly, highly recommended. Even to start, if you're not a Byrds fan, even to start your adventures in birddom, I guess I would recommend Notorious Byrd Brothers, along with the previous couple of albums that I've named. It was very hard for me to rank this one second because it'd been first for a long time for me. But when I went back into their catalog and I just listened more, and I was like, there's one album that ranks higher than Notorious Byrd Brothers for me, and very slightly, I mean by a hair of your chinny chin chin. Number one is Younger Than Yesterday. Most of my favorite songs from the Byrds are from this album. It's more psychedelic folk rock, Renaissance Fair, just an unbelievable, incredible song. Everybody's Been Burned. I love that David Crosby song. It just brings back a lot of memories. It brings back a lot of nostalgia for me for a certain period of time in my life. Thoughts and Words, just, oh my gosh. That is one of my favorite Byrd songs of all times. Just a remarkably beautiful song. Mind Gardens, very psychedelic type stuff. Girl with No Name. again, the Byrds were very good at 2-minute songs. If you go through their catalog, you'll see that most of their songs are like 2 minutes long. And I know that I went very quickly through this particular band, but they are one of my favorites of the 60s, and I don't want to take away, any time from them. I know the video's not as long as some of the other videos, but it was just very difficult for me. I mean, they were just so good, each album, that it was just very hard. But yeah, I highly recommend the Byrds. If you haven't heard them, give them a chance. Listen to them. Listen to these albums. See how different they are. I mean, they just vary from album to album. Some albums sound similar. Some albums sound completely different than the album you heard before it. But they're very talented musicians, very talented songwriters. They were very good, very close with Bob Dylan for a while, took some of his material and, did their own versions of it. And, I mean, for cover material, I mean, they are just phenomenal. But yeah, those are my album rankings for the Byrds. So until next time, and I don't really know who I'm going to be talking about next time. I'll think about it. I'm trying now to go from like prog to psychedelic to, hard rock and metal, and I'm going to throw some other types of albums in there. I love Motown and soul from the 60s and 70s as well. We'll get around to some 80s. Maybe later on I'll get into some 90s and modern music even, But for right now, we're going to continue the process. And until next time, guys, I hope you like this video. If you're a Byrds fan, give me your thoughts on the Byrds, your favorite songs by the Byrds. Give me your album rankings by the Byrds. So until next time, I've said that 3 times, haven't I? You take care.